Welcome to Courageous Parenting Summit. I am Physiology, being mother of three children, parenting coach, author of a book, and transformational teen leadership coach. Today we have here with us Coach Anna Lang. Welcome, Anna.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Thank you for being here. So I get to introduce myself. I'm Edith Wallach. I'm a leadership coach and mother of three clever, unique, special children, as well as Amazon best-selling book author. And our vision here is to empower parents and children by building connection with love.
Coach Anna Lang helps individuals transform their toughest challenge into a life they love. With over 25 years of entrepreneurial experience, she has authored 9 personal development programs, multiple workshops, and the forthcoming book, You Are the Secret Source, which is today's title of the interview. Known for her neuroscience-informed approach, Anna's coaching supports others to connect with themselves and create lives they truly love. Her mission is simple: to prove that even life's hardest challenge can become the foundation for fulfillment. Anna, can you tell more about yourself and about your book and the topic which we have chosen for today's interview?
Well, my journey is one I think a lot of people have been through. I was from a time I was very young, and I've never fully identified where it started, but I grew up feeling very much like who I wasn't right. It wasn't acceptable. It wasn't allowed. That no matter what version of myself I created, it was always going to end up in breakdowns or pain or problems. And if I was getting it sort of right over here, it was going wrong over there. And so I became kind of a chameleon, which is what kids do and what we'll talk about today. When you feel like there's no part of you that's okay to be, you start trying to be everything else that isn't you, and you become this personality morpher as it is. And so that's what I did. And I got so good at becoming everybody else that very slowly I had walked away from who I was until I hit a point where I didn't actually know. I couldn't tell you what I actually liked. I couldn't tell you the things that brought me joy. I couldn't tell you if the job I was in was because I wanted to be there or because somebody else had done it. It looked good. They looked happy and I wanted that. So I took that job, you know, and it was reflected in my businesses too. So I would go and I would create, I've had 8 businesses. I'd make these businesses and they would attract people that didn't actually want to work with me and that I didn't want to work with because I wasn't actually being me when I built them. Right? It makes sense. And, anyways, it all spiraled out of control, as it will, because you can't walk away from who you are forever without it going horribly wrong. And again, we'll talk about this with kids, with parents. I'm sure a lot of people are listening to this and they're like, holy crap, this is me. But I ended up homeless. I ended up, survived suicide attempt. And when I hit that point, I came to this realization that in order for me to move through that space, it was up to me to acknowledge my own role in getting there. Because up until that point, it had been the world's issue. It had been everybody else making me feel like this. It had been my parents doing things wrong. It had been my friends not wanting to be around me. It had been everybody else's problem but my own. And so I would defer conflict in the name of peace. But that was just so I would be comfortable because I wanted people to, you know what I mean? The benefit outweighed the pain of moving. But once I recognized that I was the secret sauce, I was able to start moving out of that space. Now it took me 13 years to go from homeless to back. I now have a beautiful house. I have a stable and amazing marriage with my soulmate. My kids and I get along. My mom and I overcame a 34-year estrangement, and it works. I have to say, it works when you turn yourself in and you unlock yourself. Everything around you changes with you, and that's what my book is about. It's about the 6 things, the 6, I call them the foundational keys, that once you dial those things in, everything else starts to work and you start to be able to actually see your life and step into it as who you actually are instead of all the things you thought you should have been before the world told you you weren't good enough as you are.
Okay, yeah. Will you be telling about all those 6 secrets to our audience today?
I love it. I will anything that I have is yours and your audience's.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. I would love to hear that about it.
So you'd love to hear the foundational keys?
Yes, 6 foundational keys.
It would
Yeah,
be
okay.
amazing because in order for our parents to support their children with transformation, with empowerment, with any other support, they get to look at the mirror and see inside them and dig deep. So now you have the keys for them to support them in that journey.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the first thing before we get into the keys, there's a couple of things that are really important to understand because the keys, what happens is we go through life and we take courses and we read books. We see the gaps. Like nobody is oblivious to their gaps. I will say this, right? You know where there's a problem, and so do your parents. Like they see it and they know it. But the thing is they're not always aware of uh, sort of the layer that's running it, the thing that's underneath. And so before we get to the keys, which kind of sit on that layer, we got to know what that layer is. So is it okay if I talk about that for just a little bit?
Go ahead.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Now, you might have heard this before, but people are animals. We are animals, okay? And so as animals, even a one cell organism, even a leaf on a tree, our basic, most fundamental program is to survive. That is all living things. That is the first line right there is to survive. And we really, really need to be conscious of this because every other program is built on top of that. Because if you don't live, your purpose doesn't really matter. Your date next week doesn't matter. Like if you don't survive, none of this stuff matters. So you got to understand that. And what that means is our body has created some pretty complex systems to ensure that we survive. And these systems operate without our conscious thought 99% of the time, if not more, right? And these programs are very simple. When you think about them, they're very simple. One, stay in your cave, which is stay with what's known, right? That goal over there, that's really big. If you step out of your cave, the amount of things that could potentially hurt or harm you quadruple, quintuple, they exponentially increase the further out of the cave you go. So staying in the cave means the cave may suck. You may be getting hit every day. You may be fighting all the time, but you know what you're dealing with. And your brain will always take what it knows because it's easier. Second, you've got tagging. And there's fancy words like epigenetics, but basically what this is, everything that you do, every interaction you have with your kids is going to be tagged, and not just those interactions, every sight, smell, sound, touch, everything, it gets a tag. And when something happens that really your body feels enhances your ability to survive, it'll get a bold highlighted tag. And when it's dangerous or hurtful or harmful, closer to death, it'll get the same kind of tag. And then your body uses those tags to predict what's going to happen. So your kid walks in the room and immediately you tense up. Your body's using those tags. It's using the past to predict the future. Okay, be very aware of this because it influences your body before your brain does. Really important stuff, right? So where was I? I did tagging. I lost my train of thought. Which one did I go through first? Staying with the known.
Tagging you.
What do you mean? Yeah.
And, thank you. And then the third one is tribe. We all do it, man. The third one is tribe. We have developed over millennia crazy, crazy mechanisms in our body to push us towards other people. Greater access to care, protection, ability to get resources, like infinitely more capability to keep us alive if we're surrounded by other people who will take care of us and help us get shelter and knowledge and all the other stuff, right? Plus, protection from predators, all of that. Now, when we're talking about the keys are how we train all of these systems, like these primal instinctual systems, to know that we can move forward without putting ourselves in grave, grave danger. Okay. So it's how we can speak to and evolve those systems. Now, the first, before I go on, do you have any questions about that part?
No, that's pretty
You want to
straightforward.
move forward, I'm getting curious. Like more or less, it's like explaining about Maslow's hierarchy of need, where we are moving, like that's it's giving the idea which you're giving. It's giving me that vibe, like moving up and up and up after crossing certain levels, and how it is impacting the life. So
Yeah.
it's interesting.
Yeah. Um, the other thing before I get to the keys that we should probably go through is why, like how our body responds physiologically to stressors and what that is. Because especially when you're parenting, your thoughts become things. Your ideas in your head become physiological responses, which actually impair your ability to function logically when your child is present with you. So we got to talk about that. And I am going to get to the keys, I promise you, but this is really important. When our body perceives anything to be dangerous, anything to disrupt our safety, which is anything that's unknown,
Mhm.
anything that we have a tag for. And by the way, some of our tags we inherit from our parents. So we might have an instinctive reaction that we don't even know where it came from. That's generational trauma. Anytime that we perceive we're going to get rejected, anytime that the tribal bonds are disrupted, we are going to experience a response. It's, if we want to be simple about it, we'll call it a fight or flight response. It's a stress response. And there's a whole lot of stuff that's really important that happens when you have a stress response. And the first thing that I want to talk about is that we have different levels in brain. This part is where our thinking happens. That's logical parts. That's
Logics, yeah.
right. That's where we can have conversations with our kids. That's where we can deduct meaning and facial cues and all of that stuff. It's where object recognition is. It's really important. And then we have our emotional brain in the middle. And then our emotional brain connects with our reptilian brain. It's what we call the brainstem. And that's instinctive responses. That's running your breathing. That's when you see something in your peripheral vision that might be dangerous, you jump out of the way before your thinking brain can even come online. Really important.
Yeah.
When you perceive stress, your body does this thing. So your brain uses up a lot of energy, like 20% of your total energy every day. And when you're stressed out, your body is like, oh my gosh, I'm in danger. I have to optimize so that I can stay alive longer. So I need to optimize my resources. One, I have to optimize strength because if this thing is like going to try and overtake me, I have to be able to fight. I need to optimize my muscles because I have to be able to run. So it's going to increase your heart rate. It's going to increase your blood pressure. It's going to direct energy away from your stomach. So if anyone has long-term stress, gut problems are really common. So are heart problems. So it's going to do a whole bunch of stuff to your body. But one of the big ones, parenting, listen up, is it actually shuts down this part of your brain. It actually routes resources away from your thinking brain so that, and it puts them all down here and into your muscles. So you're acting like a primal animal on instinct, on those tags that might not even be true because all of our tags are kind of subjective, right? So anything that stresses you out is going to have this effect more or less. And the more stressed out you are with work, with whatever's going on in your life, the less online this part of your brain is. Okay. And also, you'll notice shallow breathing happens. Shallow breathing deprives your brain of oxygen, which it needs to think. So we've got all this going on. We've got, you're stressed out about a thought. So now you're taking this part of your brain offline. You're likely starting to breathe differently because that's also what happens when you're stressed out. And then your kid comes in the room. And now you're in a compromised state. And that kid does something that triggers one of these tags. And then, all right, here's what's happening.
Action happens.
Okay. Do we identify with this?
I'm like, oh
Yes.
my God, am I drooling yet? Oh my God, yeah, I'm in. That's me. Yes.
Okay. So as a coach, when I'm working with people who are working on relationship stuff, first we got to understand all this stuff because when you're not bad, when you're responding in these ways, it doesn't make you bad. It's that, and often it's learned. too, from your parents and from their parents. And all of this stuff is intermixed. So first off, you're not bad. You are acting and responding in a way that is what your body learned to keep you alive. And then it layers on all kinds of stuff, like, again, these tags, your past, all of that junk. So when we want to move through this space, we want to first look at ourselves, because we cannot support our children if we are in this compromised stress state and we don't know how to bring ourselves back online again, is what I like to call it. You've got to bring yourself online, or you cannot move through with other people. And by the way, the relationship you have with yourself is what you're going to manifest with your kids. So if you're constantly offline, your relationship with them is going to be offline too. So this stuff is super important. And that's where the 6 keys come in. So we're finally getting there.
Can I ask a question before we move to 6 keys? What are the ways of recognizing the tags even though we don't know that they exist? Do you have anything that you can say, like, oh, go through this number of questions and you're going to recognize the tags? Or is there anything that you can give us?
Okay, absolutely, yes. 100%. It's in the keys too.
It is. Okay.
And
great.
here's what I'm going to say before I say that. You are working in personal development with what I call personal development muscles. So your ways of showing up in the world and how you speak to people and the tags that you use, they're like muscles. And some of the tags you've been using feel like truth because that muscle is so strong. You've been working it for maybe your whole life. Maybe you learned it in childhood. Who knows? But so it's a really strong muscle. So when I'm giving you what I'm going to talk about now, and I'm going to give you some tools you can use to start recognizing it, I will preface that by saying, be very gentle with yourself as you go through this, because what we're doing here is not saying these muscles are bad. They're just out of balance because you've been only working on that muscle. It's like if you only worked on your arms and then wondered why you couldn't walk. So we're learning to walk now. We're going to start building some muscles. We're going to start recognizing. And as you get better at recognizing, then you'll get better at addressing in the moment. So even if you're looking at these things post-mortem, as it were, that's a win. You're doing great. Okay.
So, I love you speak a language of a mother.
Oh man, I have screwed up motherhood so hard. I don't think there's a way that we can get it right. If you do one thing, your kids will see the other thing. It's how it's going to be. And that's also biological. Otherwise, they'd never leave home. Yeah. We can talk about that later. So recognizing tags. The first thing we want to do, we won't recognize anything as long as our prefrontal cortex, the thinking brain, is offline. So when you're stressed, you're not recognizing your tags, you're responding to them. So the first line of duty in recognizing a tag is to bring yourself online. And there's a really simple thing to do that you can use, and it's called breathe. When people get stressed, the first thing they do is they start shallow breathing. So one thing, when you feel your heart rate going up, when you feel your kid come in the room, am I shallow breathing? If you are shallow breathing, you're actually heightening what we call like this anger response. And there's a term for it, which I can't think of right now, that's sciencey. But your anger response, your tension, your like fight or flight, the need to win the war starts taking over your brain like a cloud. Like it's just like ink. It just stop and take at least 3 deep breaths. They have actual scientific studies on this, that it improves your ability to make decisions in real time. So that's your first thing. And then, yes, there are some really great questions you can ask to see if you're using tags. And I will venture you are always using tags is the answer. No matter what situation you're in, your body is programmed to use tags. What you want to do is get present to what you're using. What story are you saying in this moment? What's the garbage that you're bringing into the conversation and projecting outwards from you in this moment? And even if you're like, hey, I'm going to be patient with my son, even if he acts like a jerk. That's tagging, guys. Even if he acts like I'm pulling what he's done in the past. I'm putting it in my soul right now, and I'm projecting it at him as he walks into the room. He can feel that crap coming at him before he even enters, before he even looks you in the eye. So deep breath and just notice, like, what is it? What is it you're bringing from your past that's influencing this moment? And if you can get present to that, you're gonna notice some real time. I don't want to say guilt and shame, but that comes with it. You'll start to notice some real time stuff. The second thing you want to notice is once you notice it, what's going to follow you, I promise, are the justifications. Anyone ever had that?
Oh
I
yeah.
know my behavior followed up by, but this is okay because, but this is why I had to because.
A lot of because before we doing and acting. Our brain
Yes.
helps us justify the situation, our way of being, a lot of story to tell around.
And you sound like you know this one pretty deep, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we all know it very deeply. But the trick comes in the third part. So I've noticed that, or I've identified, it's like naming emotions. Identify what the thing is you're tossing onto the experience.
Mhm.
If you can name where it's from, that's great. That's a bonus. But what is the justification on top of it?
Mm.
Right? Because this is all protection. What is this protecting me from?
I'm
Rejection.
dying. Danger.
Yeah, it's protecting me
Mm.
from danger. This is what you're programmed to do. So celebrate that your body is working properly.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, and I lost my train of thought again. Dang it. It was so good. If it's meant to be, it'll come back to me.
Yeah.
But that's kind of that's the process of, you want to recognize it, you want to name the thing that's under it, and you want to get present and compassionate about that. And that's really how simple it is. It simple, but not easy. Let me presence that. And that actually brings us into the most important key. The single most important key, and I say this is important for anybody. It is the first thing I teach in my programs. It is the first thing that I do with my coaching clients. And it's called self-compassion.
Mm.
When I say to you guys, and I'm not talking patience, when I say patience, can you tell me the energy of patience?
Weak, not,
So,
you know,
um,
like weak, not being able to do it, like putting the energy that I am weak, I'm not capable of something. I need people outside of me get to work on me, work for me. I need some medication, something like that. And that kind of energy comes in.
yeah, posing, slow,
Mhm.
And what if
mm,
you're patient with somebody else? What kind of energy is that?
kind.
Yeah.
Kind, loving,
Mhm.
open-hearted, open. Oh my God, now I see it.
Oh, can I challenge you? Because this
Yes.
is this is so, so important. And I'm going to offer a context and a frame here that you may not have heard before. When we're Are we patient with anything that is going the way we want it to go?
Yeah.
Do you need to be patient with anyone who's on time,
No,
who does what they're
No,
told?
no.
no.
So then, would it be fair to say that what's under patience is the acknowledgement that something is going wrong? Something isn't as it should be or as you would like it to be. I think that's pretty fair based on what you just said. So then
Yeah.
the energy of patience isn't kind and loving, it's expectant. Would that be accurate? It's like,
Yes.
you have done something wrong, but I am going to be okay with it and I will not call you out. I am a good person. Uh, but there's also an energy there that I know what the end is and that you have failed to get there. And I'm waiting for you to arrive. I am waiting for this thing to come to the way. I'm patient. So I'm waiting for someone to get wherever it is I think that they're supposed to be. So there's
Ooh.
judgment implicit in patience.
Mm.
There is this dichotomy, for example, embarrassing moment. My husband and I had a blow up about the dishwasher, and it wasn't a small one because I was patiently waiting for him to learn how to do it the right way, which made me sound like I was his coach and I was like superior because I knew what the right thing was and he was not getting there. However, he was the same with me. He was like, she just doesn't know how to load a dang dishwasher. And we ended up in this like crazy battle over it, which actually extended to our children. It was a dishwasher, guys. That's what patience is. Patience. And now think about it when you're thinking of yourself, when you're thinking of your kids. What energy are you throwing at yourself? I should be there already. I should be better. I shouldn't have to do that. Should all day long. You're doing that to your kids. You're patiently expecting them to be some way that you've decided is right. Now let's look at compassion. Compassion means the journey is theirs. The journey is my husband's, the journey is my kids, the journey is mine. And there is no path that is correct. There's simply a path. And compassion encourages us to walk beside each other on that path without expectation of what the destination looks like, only that when we get there, this is what the vision is, right? Like we have a vision of creating harmony in our house. I'm not patiently waiting for you to get there. I'm compassionately learning and walking with you as we travel it. What is that energy like?
That's a big one, that completely changes the energy rather than expectation. We are in like, having a vision to walk you there and be where you are, bend to your level so that we all can rise together and reach towards the vision. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing this up.
What I'm hearing is being in now and being in partnership with that other person, especially with our children.
Yeah. But if we don't do that with ourselves, again, our relationships magnify what's happening in here. So if I see you and your husband fighting and freaking out, and the first thing I'm going to look at is what is your self relationship? Do you understand what your self relationship is, and what does that look like, and where are you not enough, and where are you not loving up on yourself, and where are you patient? Where are you patiently waiting for yourself to arrive? What? Because by the way, the reason I bring this up and I'm so adamant about it, the muscle thing, remember the muscle analogy? The muscles you work in how you speak to yourself are what bubbles out of you when you speak to others, especially when you're stressed and you're compromised. When you're compromised, the strongest muscle wins every time. Consider that. Self-compassion, self-compassion. You've got to practice it on yourself, because when you are compromised, if you have not practiced on yourself, it will not come out of you for others. And that includes your kids, right? You're not showing up for them the way you want to because you're bad or you're not capable or any of these other things. It's because you're not practicing on yourself first.
Wow.
Not what you're using practicing. It will not come automatically on overnight. Things are not going to happen. We need to
You did.
decondition ourselves.
That is brilliant. You guys are brilliant. And yes, you didn't get here overnight. So expecting personal transformation to be a button. I mean, yes, there are some things that will unlock you and they feel like buttons, but the long-term application is a practice. It's that over and over again, the muscle you work will be the one that comes forward. And if you stop practicing, I promise you what's going to happen. The strongest muscle will win. That's how this works.
Oh my goodness. This just reminds me of one of the speakers back at the organization. I'm VP of E, Toastmasters. They said that one of the speakers said, "I'm not here to compete to win against the best one, but I am here on this journey of to be like to beat for the long run." Kind of. So he's not here just to do one speech and win, but he wants to keep on working on himself in order to win the big a word. So it's the same thing with like using that muscle of compassion, muscle of maybe not using the word patience, but being patient with yourself to
It's
be
compassionate with yourself.
Compassionate, yes.
compassionate, not patient with yourself. Um, and yeah, that's what it is. Like using that muscle and keep on repeating. And transformation is never end journey. There is no end to it. So when we unlock each step and then use the muscles to create that um habit, because that's building on habits, good
Mm-hmm.
habits that can generate great self-care.
Mm-hmm. And I also would love to presence that patience isn't bad,
That
but it
mhm.
isn't your end game. You do not want to live in patience. You want to live in compassion. So when you catch yourself being patient, see what can be done from an internal perspective to shift into compassion.
Mm.
Challenge the patience. When you see yourself being patient, say, "Oh, awesome, win, win, win. I'm experiencing patience. I'm in the mode of being patient. Now, how can I be compassionate?" Work on that and grow from it because it's wonderful. Because I mean, I'd much rather see someone be patient than all of the words I can think of right now are not polite. That,
Mm.
right?
Yeah. Anna, did you mention all the keys so far or not?
No, I have not. We
What's
haven't even
I lost
scratched
the
the
count.
surface. We haven't even scratched the surface. But yes, self compassion. You
Yes.
dial in self compassion. That
Yeah,
is,
I think that's the main thing because we are running out of time. So it would be amazing to talk about it. If we will be adding Anna's details if you want to get in touch, get coaching, and so jumping on all of that. And Anna has an amazing gift for us. So
yes.
can
I
you tell
am
us
going,
about it?
I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you, Edith.
No.
Acknowledge my breakdown. Uh, I'm just so excited because I spoke with Edith and Fitza before we got on, and I was saying what would really serve your audience. And based on what we've talked about, based on self compassion, we get to love up on ourselves and we get to turn that into a practice because I think we're parents, we're so hard on everything that we do wrong. But guys, we're living what we know, and now we're learning something new. So we get to celebrate every new thing that we learn and practice, even if we do it in a hot mess. Okay, and this is going to help you do that. I have it's the ultimate self-care workbook, and it's just packed. It's like 60 or 80 pages or something like that, but it's got exercises, it's got ideas that you can use to incorporate self-care and self-compassion into your life, and it's set up in such a way that it's fun, it's engaging, it's beautiful to look at, and it's yours. I'm going to give you a link to that. You can download it and please use it. And if you want, you could send me an email and let me know which part of it you liked the best. I would love that.
Yeah. Sure, and I'm sure the
Amazing.
audience are going to get a lot of benefit out of it, and you all will be getting it just under the Anna's interview down there. The button is there to go and get those free gift which Anna is offering. So thank you, Anna, for being here with us. It's wonderful talking to you and bringing our audience into compassion. Like everything begins here. If you are calm, composed, and loving and compassionate towards yourself, you're creating a child who is compassionate towards themselves. Imagine how strong that would be.
Yeah,
So,
you've got to
just,
model what you want to create.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
I believe the word, I think you gave birth to that word, compassion, because it has not been mentioned and it's not really a word that is really used often, especially for in parenting, especially in parenting. So that's a great reminder for people to be that word, be that way of being, be compassionate, compassionate with yourself, with how you raising your children, how you impacting their lives, how you can empower them. First, be compassionate with yourself.
I could not have said that better myself.
Thank you so much for your interview, for being here, for your generosity, your heart. You've done such amazing work.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank
It was
you.
an absolute delight to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye for now.